It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the Movie Time podcast with your hosts, LOWKEY Geek Renee Zalata and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
Oh man, what's up? What is going on, everybody? Look, we're here. We're actually doing an episode today. What's up, everyone? I know it's been a hot minute. February has been a roller coaster ride. That's at least one way to put it. But we cannot miss out on. We're just a week now away from the Oscars as of us recording this. This is Dune weekend. Happy Dune weekend, Blake. I'm sure you've seen the movie.
I rewatched the first one. I watched the second one. I got tickets to see it again tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Dude, this is like when we always talk about like event films, and this is an event film for me and for you. I hope it's just like that for everybody, because
it's like, what are we doing this weekend? It's like,
yeah,
the answer's in the question, dude.
Like,
self-explanatory.
Seriously, get a Dune, right? That's what they're saying now in the South, right? Get a Dune. You know, if is that Larry Cable Guy still alive? I mean, that's probably what he's saying nowadays, right? Get a Dune. All right. Anyways, but yeah, Dune.
Not indulging you on that.
Dune is. Let's just say, I think it's safe to say that this is a sci-fi masterpiece. Like, this is like the best sci-fi movie I've seen in years, since the first one, maybe. I don't know. Am I crazy?
I'm gonna say this. It's better than Star Wars. Move on before we get into it. Is it more influential? No.
I actually agree with you, though.
Like 2 days ago.
I actually agree with you. It is better than, I would say, 95% of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. It is. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. I can't
wait for 30 years from now when they remake it, when they re-edit it all, and then they add 3 more.
The special edition.
And then 20 years later, they add 3 more. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Denis Villeneuve is going to be like in his 90s, and he's like, I should have done it like this. And all of these new special effects and people walking on screen. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy.
When they do the Javier Bardem offshoot show on Disney Plus Infinity, whatever it's going to be called then, and we're just like, you actually are Javier Bardem's character. Oh, yeah. That'll be so fun.
That's going to be the best.
Taste the sand. Yeah.
That's going to be the best. I honestly can't wait either. Well, they're supposed to be doing a Jenny Besseret spinoff on Max. Yeah. I don't know when that's going to happen, but anyways, we could talk about Dune all day, but this is not why we're here. We're actually here because it's time for our annual Oscar ballots, baby. Let's go. Let's do this. Are you ready?
No, I've never been ready for this, and yet it's the most wonderful time of year. I'm beyond excited, and I already had my panic attack out of the way filling out my ballot before, but I know we're going to do it in person, so you'll get to see a little bit of me go. I might even change my mind on a few. Be careful. This year's a highly predictable year on some of the major ones, but there's a couple that are coin flips, and I looked at the betting odds and the expert predictions, and it's literally like on a razor's edge. So those will be the ones that are more interesting to talk about, and those will be the ones where you'll get to see me sweat a little bit. Nice. But I'm ready. I'm as ready as I could be. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So if you haven't tuned into any of our previous Oscar ballot episodes, Blake is definitely the one who is more into, he listens to a lot of the podcasts. He reads up on all the sites. I'm sure
Sample
Gold
ballots,
Derby.
Just eating those for breakfast on my way into work. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he has bookmarks of the betting odds and all that. So he goes into like the stats and everything.
About 5 years ago, I had a perfect ballot, and I'm not kidding. It was a miracle of my lifetime. And then since then, I'll get too cute with it. That year I got cute and hit it right, and then sometimes I'll get too cute with it. So this year it'll be easier to get a really high score. I think everyone at the Oscars party is going to feel great about it, and there'll just be a few categories that swing it one way or the other.
Right. Yeah, I think from what I've seen, because again, we've been doing this now for a good amount of time, you definitely get your emotions caught up sometimes, and you pick the things that you actually kind of want to win, right?
So Poor Things for Best Picture is not the right choice.
I want it to be. Trust me. I'm right there with you.
Let me fix this. All right, here we go.
I am right there with you.
Poor Things, nine wins.
Yeah,
is what I have right now.
Totally. Yeah, if this was all from the heart, I would totally do the same thing. But yeah, for myself, like I follow some of the discourse online. I pay attention more to the winners of the past awards shows that we've had this season, because the Oscars is the finality, the final in this whole Oscar like race and award season from 2023. So this is really the close of the 2023 movie discussion. Once the Oscars are all said and done, then people can now move on to the 2024 movies. So in a way, it's kind of sad because it's the last time we're going to be talking and thinking about these movies from last year. And there are a lot of good ones. So yeah, so what we usually do is that we will go through each category. We'll talk briefly about each category, why we chose what we chose, and then recap at the end of it all. And then on Oscar Day, we determine to see who is the clear-cut winner. We have points associated with everything, but we could go over that at another time. It's standard fare. I'm sure if you've participated in any kind of Oscar pool at your office, then it's pretty much almost the same thing there. But again, and that's basically how we started doing this, is like when we used to work together, we're like, hey, let's do an Oscar pool. And I think only you and I were really the ones that were diehard into it.
Yeah, for sure. And we were always first and second place in that.
Yeah.
It's wild though. I feel like it snuck up quick. I had a minute where I was watching everything I could. Now I've got a few features left, 2 documentaries, a couple short films, but overall I've seen almost all of them, other than some outliers that were released super late or unavailable. And I'm just in 9 days. It'll be over. I don't know when we're dropping this, but the day after the Oscar, I'm just scared for Bradley Cooper and his family. I'm worried we're going to be walking around Manhattan and outside Bradley Cooper just going to be using the baton and yelling into the street or something. He's going to need some recovery period. And then so far, we haven't had a great 2024 movie year. It's early, of course. It's rare for anything that would be nominated next year to even be out by now, of course. But I mean, this could have been a Dune year. It got pushed. The Dune Oppenheimer conversation would be so hot. I know we're not talking about Dune today, but I just want to throw in there, this could be a very different race if Dune 2 had been released when it was supposed to in November last year.
Yeah.
And instead, now you've got Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve showing each other love and talking about each other's movies and stuff. It might be, there might be a few of these categories that would get thrown for a loop with that. Yeah. As it stands, though, I feel pretty ready to get into it.
Yeah, like you were alluding to earlier, I do feel like a lot of the winners here are pretty much set in stone, because we've been hearing the same names repeated.
Not set in Emma Stone.
Not in Emma Stone. Sure. No, that is for damn sure.
Not in Gladstone. That's for sure. That one, TBD.
But we've been hearing the same names over and over and over again. And yeah, I do feel bad for Bradley Cooper, because he's having a moment. Now he's talking about his daughter and all this kind of stuff. Like he might have a nervous breakdown at the end of it all. And but I wish
shaving his head in the audience, and they're like, is this a bit? Like, no, that's not a bit. He's not okay.
He's like in the corner rocking back and forth, and it's gonna be like a Shia LaBeouf kind of moment. And you know what? If it happens on air, I'm all for it.
If that's our controversy, you just put a curtain around him so it stops disturbing the other guests.
I want him to pull a Kanye. I want him to pull a Kanye and rush up on stage and do one of those, like, look, I'm going to let you finish, but Leonard Bernstein or Steen is my all-time favorite hero. He should be recognized.
Give me somewhere between a Kanye and a Will Smith level of controversy. And
who's he going to smack?
I don't want it to be too much. I'm not asking for him to actually lose it, lose it on himself or anyone else. But if he's just start screaming at some point out, and they're like, what is that? What is that animal yelling in the background? And it's just like a a squeal, but like a guttural dying noise, that would be perfect. I think that would be good.
Yeah, it'll be great.
And they just give him one, and like just go home, and it's not even a real Oscar. He's just holding a rock and whispering to it.
I want him to be the heckler. I want him to be like the heckler in the audience, and he just heckles everybody in every category.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be amazing.
If he's up for supporting and it was up first, and then just the rest of the show, he's just a mess, just getting right. He just does a Star is Born where he's pissing himself literally. He runs up on stage, falls over, pisses himself, dragged away.
Oh man, yeah.
Anything could happen.
Anything can
TV.
happen.
Let's
hey,
go.
That's why we love this. That's why this is like our Super Bowl of the year. So anything can happen. We love it. All right. Let's get into things. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's do something we don't normally do. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's start with Best Picture here. So obviously you already all know the nominees. I'll just briefly recap it. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So for myself, I am going with Oppenheimer. I think it's yes. I want to say Past Lives. I really do. But I think Oppenheimer is already set that this is going to be the movie of the year of last year. And you're very much right. I can't imagine if Dune came out last year, because I do think those will be the two contending movies of the year. And it's quite possible we could have seen a sci-fi movie get a lot of love that normally it won't get in a year. So maybe it's a blessing that it released in 2024, because we could be having a different conversation for next year.
Two nuke movies. Sorry, no spoilers for Dune. We won't talk about it more, but wow. It could be a nuclear Oscar race in that case.
Very true.
Here's my theory, and I know I'm overthinking Best Picture. Sure. And I've heard other theories like hot takes of, okay, Barbie's going to be a lot of people's second, third choice. It could get the sympathy thing because people felt like it got snubbed, etc. There's plenty of options of how it could go down. My main theory is because they do the ranked choice voting, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would get more write-in ballots, but because it won't be the ranked choice voting will mess it up. So I'm going to go with Oppenheimer for the 2024 Best Picture winner.
Right. Not so what are the odds that maybe Chicken Nugget, Chicken Run, whatever, Chicken Little can sneak in there?
That's the problem with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That'll be splitting votes in the write-in option, because you can only write in one is my understanding, unless they change that. So definitely this one's gonna be, because it's the last award of the night, and also it's kind of whack when the producers speak, but I think Nolan produced with his wife, if I'm not mistaken, so maybe he'll be the one speaking, but he'll have already also just given a director's speech, so it might be one of those like, I already talked enough, thanks so much, get home safe, or something like that. But yeah, it'll be Oppenheimer will win Best Picture. Okay,
there you go. So let's move on up. What we're going to do now is work from the left column all the way to the right. So next one we have here is actor in a leading role. Going through the nominees real quick. This was Blake's main choice when he saw Maestro last year. He said Bradley Cooper was going to win Best Actor in a Leading Role. Yes, you did. We have that on tape.
Okay.
Bradley Cooper. I'm not
sure if, I know you're good with AI. I don't know if that was edited.
I'm not that good.
We on record talking about how Michelle Yeoh would not win or even be nominated. We have this every year where when we talk about movies in real time.
It's great. I love that we do that to each other, but you know.
Well, I was right about him being nominated for sure. And he could win. We don't know.
He could. Maybe. He could force himself to win. Maybe he'll grab the statue out of someone's hand. It's like, I'm the winner, and just run, run off to the hills.
He has the award. I guess everyone. Sorry,
it's his now.
We'd like to amend the nominate when we said Cillian Murphy would win.
That's right.
I jumped ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Cillian Murphy, Jeffrey Wright. I think you said it. I'm going to say it right now. Cillian Murphy is, I think, the clear-cut winner here.
There's a lot of talk about Paul Giamatti, and his odds are rising while Cillian's are thus falling. It's not impossible to imagine Paul Giamatti has not gotten love in the awards way for the Oscars, got snubbed for Sideways. It's a famous one. I'm not at all shocked if that's what happens. And yet the narrative doesn't feel clean enough, or it feels like he could be the person where in 10 years he's nominated a bunch, doesn't win, or he gets for the Russell Crowe movie Cinderella Man. He got nominated for that as like a makeup after Sideways.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think it makes it. I'm not shocked at all. I'll just say, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
If you put that on your ballot, I think if you were to put it in Vegas, that might be smart because you could get better odds for it. But on the ballot, I think it's smart. I wouldn't put Cillian Murphy on it in a betting way, but I'd put Paul. But on a ballot, Cillian for sure.
Yeah, because if
he's had the lead this whole time.
If there is a shock and it is Giamatti, then you just scored big time. You're like probably the 1% who maybe thought like, oh, maybe this guy will do it, right? But I think it's been clear that the one everyone's been talking about is Cillian Murphy. So yeah, but yeah, like you, I also won't be surprised if all of a sudden, hey, Paul Giamatti.
No.
Yeah. So let's go now into actor in a supporting role. So we have Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo. For myself, I am going, I think, again, another clear-cut winner, in my opinion, Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro Downey Jr.
Robert De Niro and Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. Gosling.
Yep. The R's in this one with the Ruffalo, those are fun, but it's been his year. Yeah. Downey Jr. is the kind of guy you wouldn't be shocked if he said something really dumb right before and messed up. But I think the voting is closed now or almost.
It closed as of Tuesday.
Whew.
From what I could tell. Yeah.
Downey's good. He made it through without saying too much, and he hasn't necessarily given the best speeches, but playing it safe isn't the worst bet for this dude. He's smart, and he'll give a good speech, but he speaks a little loose sometimes, and you're like,
he's like a party guy.
Cool.
Yeah, he's like, he's like the
great
cool
host.
Kid. Yeah,
I'm sure. And give me a dinner table, put him in the center of it for sure. He'll just be telling stories, but okay, it's his then. He hasn't messed it up. I think he's got it.
No. Yeah. It would have been funny, though, if all of a sudden the weekend prior, he went on a crazy binge, he relapsed, and he just went all full on like 90s Downey Jr. and just started saying all of this crazy stuff around town and whatever, doing crazy things. Yeah,
yelling about how Leonardo DiCaprio's character was misunderstood in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Right.
Here's why. Or release a manifesto about it or something. Yeah, just something wild. Just fucked up.
The Nazis... After watching Zone of Interest, I think they were just kind of misunderstood.
Yeah. We need more movies where they humanize the evil, genocidal people. And that's why Killers of the Flower Moon and Zone of Interest are... I wish I had been in those. Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah. And that leads to my announcement.
Strauss is because I relate to him so much and think, nuclear weapons should be used more often against other people. Yeah.
Yes. And then that's when he announces he's working on a new movie called Hitler, A Love Story. And it's like him and Ava Braun.
I'm out. Bail. Okay.
All right. Christian Bale?
He's remaking The Reader, the Kate Winslet Oscar nominated. Yes. Did she win for that? I don't remember. But yeah, he's remaking that, but he's in the Kate Winslet role. Yeah.
That's it. It'll be amazing. All right. Moving on to actress in a leading role. We have Annette Bening.
First tough one.
Yes, I do agree. I do agree on this one. Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, Carey Mulligan, and Emma Stone. I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Fuck you.
It sounds like you do have a hot take, so let's go.
Well, it's not a hot take. You could see Hüller winning. You could see Gladstone winning. You could see Stone winning. The others are basically non-competitive. I've heard some folks hot take about Annette Bening, and she's
like a legacy kind of thing. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be the wildest thing in the world.
No.
I literally put down Lily Gladstone and then switched it to Emma Stone. There's
Ooh,
some places literally have the betting odds at the exact same. Some places the experts are predicting versus the fans are predicting, etc. And so I just got a little lost in the sauce there and went with my gut based on there's 1,000 ways to look at these things
hmm,
of like it's one of those people go, oh, they're more likely to choose the person who's been around longer, but that person, if they're in the movie that wasn't nominated for this, then and you could play it out 1,000 ways. This is so neck and neck. The one I went through to was my more cynical one, and I'm not even saying that. Like, I think I would put Emma Stone, but I'd have a tough time between these two. Just personally,
hmm,
I love that movie so much more than
sure,
Killers. Lily Gladstone's performance was so powerful. What I feel is that Lily Gladstone, because her role was more supporting, people will be more biased and not vote for her
hmm,
if you had to look at a tiebreaker because Emma Stone so carried Poor Things. And
right,
Lily Gladstone, while being the best performance, in my opinion, in that movie and being such a powerful character, if Lily Gladstone isn't supporting, then that race becomes more interesting. And Emma Stone's a clear favorite here. Plus, if you want to go with, I was thinking back on the Anthony Hopkins beating Chadwick Boseman problem from some few years ago. And that's when I was like, okay, throw in some bias, throw in the supporting actor thing. And yet, with that same bias reversed, Lily Gladstone might be more likely to win in
hmm,
the same way that DiCaprio's been championing her for this movie. I could also see it getting more makeup love in that way. So these things kind of balance out, but I just went with my more cynical opinion about the voters and also not quite category fraud.
hmm.
Lily Gladstone is the main actress in this movie, but I think some people that'll be the other thing, other bias that gets people going Emma Stone on this one. And there'll be a couple times later you'll see my love for Poor Things might out logic me. So
Right.
I know I should put Lily Gladstone here, but I'm going with Emma Stone on it.
Emma Stone. All right.
Yeah.
Blake for Emma Stone. Um, there is always going to be that debate about screen time, right? And I think that's one of the major things here is that Lily Gladstone's screen time does not equate the screen time you've gotten from any of these other females in this category. Maybe Carrie Mulligan, because I feel like Carrie Mulligan was a lot in and out in Maestro, but she was definitely in the movie a lot more than Lily was. I feel like the whole third act, Lily was in bed, and we didn't really see her that much. But
The bad acting was so good
it
though.
was that,
Maybe
and
some of
you
her
can't
best
take that
acting in the
away.
movie.
You can't take
Yeah.
that away. It's just her acting was just when she was on screen, she utilizes it to the
Yeah.
most,
But her
and
character's
she's
sidelined, as in
right,
like bedridden, literally. And so they
right,
don't show her very much
yeah,
unless Leonardo DiCaprio is going to visit her.
right,
And those are some of the more upsetting scenes. She does some incredible acting in those
yeah,
moments, but you're right, that screen time suffers for sure.
yeah. But I'm going with my gut, and I think what solidified it for me was her SAG win. And since it's the actors voting the other actors,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lily Gladstone in
Yeah.
this
And the
category.
SAGs, like the actors are the biggest bunch of voters at the Oscars. I
Yeah.
know that you're right. I'm putting Emma Stone just on a gut, but if I were to just go with pure logic and no bias, not my
Mhm.
cynicism, not someone who's been hurt before, I would go Lily Gladstone. So this might be our decider
Could
in our
be.
two ballots,
Could
and I
be.
think you'll win. You'll beat me because of this, unless you
We'll
just
see.
fuck up all the shorts. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Anything can happen as we've known in the past. Next up is actress in a supporting role. So here we have Emily Blunt, Daniel Brooks, America Ferrara, Jodie Foster, and Divine Joy Randolph. So for me, I also do feel like this is a clear cut winner here. It's Divine for me. I'm choosing her from her performance in the holdovers. Um, it is interesting now that many people are watching the holdovers now, and I hear a lot of people loving that movie much more
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
than when it first came out. So I don't know if it's
Like
going
it
to
should have been
sway.
watched at home the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like
And in
they
folks
should have
who
done
watch
that.
movies at home, yeah, that's funny. It is kind of made for that in its own little way. And the folks
Right,
who are like, I'm not trying to go see a cinematic experience.
right. Yeah,
I'll wait till it comes out at home. I'll just say, oh, this is lovely. And
yeah,
you put it against any of the weird crap that someone just throws on Netflix or, whatever else. And you're like, well, this is actually a great movie
right.
compared to the thousands of terrible choices around it. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus aesthetically, it is a nice throwback to 70s filmmaking that I'm sure the older generation
yeah.
really loves, and then it resonates well with them. So,
Now I'm rethinking my best actor one because
oh no.
I'm not changing it, but I'm just imagining the amount of voters who are watching it on and they're like, if you're watching it on I'm sure most of them saw Oppenheimer in screens, I would
Yeah.
think, but anyone who didn't, Holdovers is gonna be the more enriched experience by a laptop screen, if you will.
Sure.
Oppenheimer will be like, wait, well, I can't even see the special effects. Okay.
So what did you go with? What is your choice in this one?
Set in stone, like divine timing. It's Joy
It's
Randolph
divine time.
for sure.
Is she like offset like this, doing it's divine time?
Divine time, but I don't mind. Yeah.
So there we go. So we both go with divine. All right. Next category. For me, this is the tough one. And that is animated feature film.
Yep. This
We
is one of
have
the toughest
yeah.
by far.
We have The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Universe. So the reason why this is very tough for me, and I'm pretty sure it's for you too, you have arguably one of the best animated films we've seen in Spider-Man. The amount of craft involved in that is so well done, time consuming. We've heard all the stories about crunch time from the animators, how they spent years animating just a singular character and their kind of thing like that, and it worked. We got a product that was fantastic. But then we also have animation royalty with Hayao Miyazaki coming back after a long hiatus when we thought he was done making movies, and he decided to come back and made one that you and I agreed is a very well done movie, very beautiful. Some people may not think so much, but for us, it touched us in all the right feels and all. So very conflicted here. And I think personally, if Hayao didn't say that he was planning his next film, if like this was like his one and done and then that's it, then I think this could have solidified the win for him in this category. He could still very much win, but I think I'm going to go with Spider-Man Across the Universe in this one.
Okay.
And it could be, I could be wrong, but I think, and I think I kind of know what your mindset might be because of the international body that's part of this. And they may lean more towards Hayao for his achievements. And it does, Boy and the Heron does speak more to a global audience than it does for US. And
By
I'm
speaks
going,
to you mean because dubbed or subbed? Sorry. Okay.
I mean, yeah, US people, they don't love reading. So, anything subtitles is it's a big no-no. And I'm going against what I normally would do. And I would have normally chosen Boy and the Heron, but I don't know. Something tells me maybe Spider-Man Across the Universe, Across the Spider-Verse is going to win.
So I think you're going to win this year's ballot, which is me being an idiot because I'm like, well, I know it is the incorrect answer, but Boy and the Heron. I agree with you that technically, but I'm going to let my bias play in some. And if I think about it and rationalize it, it's basically Spider-Verse is one before. Miyazaki's been overlooked historically. Yeah. And and all the other reasons you mentioned about the international voting body, the career, the legacy. And I do feel like if you're looking at it in the film and like what's the better, deeper movie, the one that more international cinema fans are going to enjoy more and not poo-poo as like, oh, that was some comedic, action-y movie, I'm going to say Boy and the Heron for that reason. So far, technically, on when we've split, I think you're technically right. However, I'm going to go with the one I liked more, or the one
Uh,
that I think, would vote for more like, and so my biases are going to beat me this year. That said, that caveat aside, I'm putting down officially Boy and the Heron.
Boy and the Heron. Okay. I mean, it could go either way. To
It
be
could.
completely honest,
These are
it
the
could.
two
It
tough
really
ones. The
could.
ones where we've split are the 50-50 ones so
Yeah.
far, the
Yeah.
closest races. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. We shall see. But it is going to be one of those moments where we're going to be stressed out as they're preparing to rip that envelope open, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
What name is called out there? Next up is cinematography. So we have El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So I think I've heard a lot of people talk about this category, and there could be a possible upset with El Conde. I haven't seen it yet. I have it queued up. I think I'm planning to watch it this week. I didn't realize it was like a vampire movie or something like that, a black and white. Or am I thinking of something else?
No, yeah, it's one of the weirdest ones. I love the director. I saw it at the Netflix-owned Paris Theater here,
Uh huh.
and it's about Pinochet, a military dictator, but it reimagines him as a vampire.
Ah, okay.
And I won't say I've talked about it before on air.
Yeah.
It was one of the weirder movie experiences I had last year, where I went in and was totally like, "What is
Yeah.
happening?" Yeah, but that cinematographer is beloved, and it snuck in. The fact that it was even nominated was a shock on the
Right.
nomination morning. You saw my face just drop when
Yeah.
they announced it.
Yeah.
So could that push it over, or is this one of those, oh, we showed them love with the nomination, we're not actually going to award it anything? That's my
Right.
instinct, but you go ahead and what
Yeah.
are you
No,
going to say?
I think for me, and I think when right before the nominees were announced, I did say cinematography, I think was going to go to Oppenheimer. And I still think that. So I'm going to go Oppenheimer for cinematography in this one.
Part of me also imagines a Poor Things upset wouldn't be the most
Hmm.
shocking thing, but there's a chance. I was looking it over, and with betting odds and everything else, there's a chance that Poor Things gets 0 wins, and
Yeah.
not non-zero. There's a lot where it's close or in second place
Yeah.
of even the ones where it's up there. I'm gonna go with same Oppenheimer. It feels like the smart money. That award so often goes with Best Picture or Best Director or both,
Hmm.
and so I think we're gonna see, at least in cinematography. Uh, this is another interesting category, though.
Okay. You just cut out briefly. So you want to repeat what you just said, or
Yeah, just that this is one of the more interesting categories, and so I'm going with Oppenheimer officially, but I
okay.
wouldn't be surprised if either Poor Things or even technically El Conde, based on what you said, they could win. So if you're filling out your ballot with us, don't feel too crazy if you put one of those, but I think the
Right.
smartest money's on Oppenheimer.
Yeah. No, I agree. If El Conde wins, I would be shocked but happy because I think I love seeing like those like kind of
Yeah,
low thought of stuff coming through, clutch
yeah.
and winning something like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next category is costume design. So here we have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I'll kick this one off to you. What are you thinking in this category?
So this is a tough one for me. A lot of the smart money had it for Barbie. I'm
Hmm.
going with Poor Things. That's my bias showing through. I'm not surprised if a few of these win. I'm not totally shocked. Based on what I read, some at first I was like, oh wow, I'd be dumb to pick Poor Things, and I read some more things that made me think it's 50-50. So I'm gonna say that that bias against Barbie puts it at Poor Things. The only thing I'll add is the person who did Barbie's costume design has won before. They're
Right.
more they're more cherished in the Hollywood community, more veteran, clearly decent relationships in Hollywood at least. So, and Poor Things, it's much more of a newcomer, just like this person did the score for Poor Things. So while those two categories, I might go Poor Things on this one. I actually am. just because the bias against Barbie, and then it's more like clothes you would see, and it was well done. And the clothes are very featured in that movie. It's one of the big talking points when people leave the theater. But for me, my bias is that I was so stunned by how well it was done in Poor Things. It was so amazing and interesting and intricate, and the outfits were metaphorical. And I was literally just like, you're thinking about the things of the movie. I'm going, what did that outfit mean? And everyone I talked to who saw it was like, they would, especially if they were into fashion at all, they would really discuss the outfits and how jaw-dropping they were and interesting. So I'm going to go with Poor Things, but that's more, I'm putting myself in the mind of the voter, or putting them in mine with what I enjoy from it. But if you wanted to go, the sturdier bet in my mind is Barbie, even if it is a coin flip. More established and an easier costuming to appreciate. So What do you got?
I'm actually with you. I'm going Poor Things as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Because this is more of me just thinking, you're right. There does tend to see some sort of thing against Barbie right now. I think it's been unraveling little by little. But if we were to award this category based off of artistic look alone, I think Poor Things outshined everyone else in this category. And that's one of the things you and I talked about too when we were talking about the movie. It's the costuming and the production design that really stood out here. As it's almost like it's very intricate to the story. That's how important it was. So for me, I had to go with that choice for me. I just think, and it's true. I hear both sides talking about it. So for me, I do think it's 50-50, but I guess we'll see what happens come awards time. It'll be interesting.
We definitely will.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I'm terrified. Yeah.
All right, now we're on to the next middle column here. Directing. Let's talk about directing. So, Justin Trier, Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan.
That one.
Yorgos Lanthimos, and Jonathan Glazer. So you're going with Nolan?
Everyone is.
It's everyone
one of the
is.
most obvious ones. The only thing that could go wrong is if it's one of those like, oh, everyone's going Nolan, so I'm going to go. It would have to be the biggest surprise in a long time.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So I'm right there with you. Yeah. Moving on. So that was the easiest category we talked about. There you go.
By far.
Yeah. Documentary feature. We got Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol. So for me, and I don't know if this is recency bias, I just watched 20 Days in Mariupol, like literally 2 days ago. And it was devastating to me. It was really, really devastating. Plus, it's very current still. It's still a hot topic. And we know how sometimes the Academy is very much attuned to stuff like that at times. So I think personally, I'm going to go with 20 Days in Mariupol for this one. What about you?
So it's one of the ones I haven't seen yet. When you're watching it, did you see Four Daughters?
Not yet.
Okay.
I know you talked highly about that. So
when you're watching 20 Days in Mariupol, does it feel like, oh, this is an Oscars, this is a well done, well directed, beautifully shot, etc., like those things that you think of for like, oh, that's an Oscar winning looking movie? Did it feel like that?
No, it didn't. But I think what really stood out was what these guys, the people, they're basically press. It's they're part of the AP. What they went through to document everything that was happening in the first 20 days when Russia started invading is nuts. It's insane. And the fact that they were able to document so much, I think so. It's that and the messaging, of course, behind it all. I think that's what really stood out for me. But if you're looking at like cinema quality documentary, no, this definitely was not it. It's like, think of it more like a CNN type of news special. That's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Kind of more like a Navalny or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually change mine. The PDF I sent you in my ballot. I'm not kidding, because this was my biggest question about it, and I didn't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Four Daughters.
Okay.
It's the second choice. It is not the favorite. This is another one where if you beat me, it'll be because of this. I even have 20 Days of Mariupol just based on the odds and numbers. But my instinct was to put Four Daughters until I looked into the betting. And I don't mind going with my gut and then being wrong. That feels better than going with what I think will win and then my gut was right and I feel stupid. And like I short sold my intuition.
Yeah.
To me, Four Daughters matches those other criteria I was talking about really well. It is also subverts the genre a little bit, which isn't always a lovely thing. And often, sorry, it isn't something that the voters always love. Also, we've seen it so often that whatever the hottest topic is, or the topic that the voters feel most passionately about in that moment is most likely to win. So that's another reason why I think Mariupol isn't a terrible bet. The two reasons I'm going with, which it's not the best logic, but I'm going to go with my intuition and justify it by saying, one, it felt more of like, oh, this is something an international cinema lover would appreciate with how it was done.
Yeah.
It was a very creative and artfully filmed movie. The other thing I'll throw in is it's possible that right now, on the flip side, while yes, people are more likely to vote for a hot topic, this is the Ukraine situation is ongoing. I'm not trying to take that away, but it's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
Plus, you now have the situation in the Middle East now. And I wouldn't be shocked if the voting body is tired of they have some kind of like fatigue around thinking about war, thinking about invasions, and especially thinking about the voters. And with the recent Netflix ceremony with the protesters who were outside,
Right.
I could be wrong, but I think, yeah, that was put on before the voting closed. I wouldn't be shocked if they're like, you know what, I want a distraction, which not that Four Daughters is the easiest movie, and it does relate to war in its own way, but it's more of a human story, this family, these daughters, and it takes people who are in a scenario of being recruited by ISIS and on their end of things in that way. There is, what the US would call the war on terror. There is that in the backstory, in the background, but it really brings out the people and their family situation within that context. And I think the humanizing those people and it being a distraction from it only being about war, being in the middle of it, that's my instinct. So I'm going to go with Four Daughters for that reason. Is that a smart bet? Not really. Vegas wouldn't agree with me, but it's a close enough second that I don't feel too dumb going with my gut.
All right. Well, there you go. I mean, there's
so excited for you to win the bracket after I just destroyed you in the nominations. Destroyed you so hard.
But I think we could also say that from what I've read and heard, the documentary categories are very controversial this year, and I think you have a lot of people within the documentary world, debating as to how these things are nominated in the first place. So who knows? I don't know which way it's going to sway. You could be right. I could be right. Or maybe they choose something else. Who knows? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Because we don't have anything leading to this that is like a clear indicator as far as like a documentary awards. Like there's no like SAG equivalent to documentarians, right? At least not that I'm aware of, or at least not what the media covers. Because I feel like the actors have their own guild, the directors have their own guild, even the producers have their own damn guild and all. So when it comes, and animation, they have their own Annie Awards or something like that. I don't really, or maybe I'm just not aware of any documentary body. Is there?
Wow. How dare you?
As you just looked it up.
A few documentaries.
So you just looked it up, so you didn't know either. I saw you typing Mr. Google over there.
Me? I don't even know how to type. I don't even know how to use Google.
But is there? Did you find something?
Yeah, let me Google that for you.
Yeah,
Renee. Yeah. There are. It's honestly, it's so half-assed. And when I go to their website, I'm like, this isn't that real. There's like an award show for documentaries, the IDA Awards, which I'm a huge fan of.
Oh, I could tell.
And the fact that you overlook the IDAs
I could
As a
tell.
precursor to Oscars disgusts
My
me.
bad.
Yeah, how dare you? But also, at least when I just do the most preliminary, they have an event in April for a
Also,
conference,
it's
and
after.
well, I don't know that because they're also showing who the nominees were. But in December there was an award show, so I'm gonna go and say the fact that I've never heard of it until I just searched.
There you go.
Makes me think you might be honest. Yeah,
there you go.
We definitely don't have something where it is one of the most difficult categories to predict because there's not like, 8 out of the last 10 BAFTA winners also win the Oscar. We don't have that kind of math on this in this way.
Right. So there you go. Which leads us now to documentary short subject. ABC's A Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nai and Waipo. So I'm just going to go with what I hear is the popular choice. ABC's A Book Banning. That is my choice.
You're definitely going to win. Yeah, that's what Vegas is saying. That's what the experts are saying. And yet, I'm going with my gut, which is more fun, and saying Nai and Waipo.
Okay.
I watched all 5 of these. Did you?
I'm missing.
Fuck you for not watching them all and still beating me because I know you will. Fuck you.
But that's happened in the past. Remember it happened.
Yeah, it's the worst. And because I've seen them, my bias is kicking. I'm like, wait, I would definitely put Nana and Waipo over those. They'd have to be so silly not to. This is another one that's difficult, even more difficult to predict than documentary feature. It's one where we see surprises a good bit because most people are just going on their gut when they're even the experts and the prognosticators. ABC's A Book Banning is going to be a hotter topic. And yet, if I'm looking at it, what's the better film? What's better directed? And Nai and Waipo is such a heartwarming, lovely. It's on Disney Plus. It is such a cute and in its own ways deep movie. I have to put that. Just thinking, what are these voters now? If they're going to go with what's the hotter topic, I think ABC's of Book Banning is the right choice. The other thing I was thinking, if you would just want a justification to not put that on your ballot, Last Repair Shop and ABC's of Book Banning have some overlap. Not
so you think they might cancel each other out?
Yes, and then you also want to throw in The Barber of Little Rock. And if folks are going with what their politics are telling them to vote for, you might now have something split between ABC's and Barber of Little Rock in that way. So if those are vote splitting and you want to go with the one that's an exception, because Island in Between isn't necessarily that political of a movie, even though it is very political, but it's not necessarily like a hot topic in America right now. And it is a more, I personally, I would probably vote for Nai and or Island in Between, but Nai in that way is the one that is an exception and less likely to split votes. So that's why I'm going with that one. I think it's the best directed, most artfully crafted of the movies. And it's the one that, if the others are splitting votes, it's the one most likely to benefit from that, in my mind. But I'm probably wrong. So,
hey,
take it with a grain of salt.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Could go. Who knows which way it'll go. Next category we have is film editing. So we have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Yes, Oppenheimer. I'm going with Oppenheimer. You are too.
Smart money, Vegas money. Everything is saying that. It's possible there will be an exception, but no use even spending that much time on it in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree. International feature film. We got Il Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. Personally, I think if Anatomy of a Fall was in here, that would be the clear-cut winner. But I'm going with its amazing, huge amount of awards it got at BAFTAs. I'm going to go with Zone of Interest for this one.
Okay. I'm thinking Anatomy of a Fall for sure. And then I would go Taste of Things. And then I would go Boy and the Heron. But because none of those are even fucking nominated, I'm going with the Zone of Interest.
There you go. So Zone of Interest for both of us. All right. Next up, we have makeup and hairstyling. Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Society of the Snow. Let's start with you. Where are you going with this one?
I'm not necessarily choosing the smartest choice. A lot of people are saying Maestro, which I thought was interesting, even though it was, I think, because of the controversy around it, that makeup and hairstyling, maybe that will take more away from it. But I was surprised to learn that that was a favorite, at least in some of the places I looked. Going with my instinct and saying Poor Things again.
Poor Things.
It's probably the wrong choice, but you look at Willem Dafoe's face, you look at Emma Stone's hair throughout the movie, and some other factors, and I'm going Poor Things for that reason. I feel great about it. So what are you putting?
Well, it's fine because I'm doing the same thing. I'm
Thank
going
God.
with Poor
Okay.
Things on this one too.
Actually, I should want you to choose the other thing on some of the categories I'm less confident about. They're more confident. And he's like, fuck. You're going to tie me in all the ones where I'm like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have put this. And the ones where I know I shouldn't have put it or where you're going to win.
Or we could be both wrong, and then we lose out on these categories
that
that we're.
doesn't help me.
Yeah. No, I mean, there was a bit of me that wanted to go the Maestro route because I do like how they really portrayed his transformation as from younger to like older, and throughout the years, I thought they did a very good job at that. But I don't know what it is, but I just think everyone is not thinking of Maestro right now. I feel like poor Bradley, he's really going to lose his mind because he puts his heart and soul into this production and it's going to get completely shut out, I think. So
imagine the hundreds of hours he sit in the makeup chair and he'll be thinking about that when they announce that it didn't win.
Yeah.
Unless that's the fact that that's its best shot, and that was the first image that was released from the movie, and it got a lot of shit,
lot of controversy behind it. Yeah,
and that is its best chance at an Oscar is amazing.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
What a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up we have music original score, American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So I am going to choose Oppenheimer in this one. I know we have Indiana Jones with the legendary guy that is escaping my mind right now.
John Will.I.am.
John Williams, yes. Because I don't know. I didn't have coffee this morning. But for
is
me,
that why you said legendary so many times? You were stalling to see.
Yeah,
if you remember?
I was trying to pull up his name in my head. Yeah, I literally,
just so excited
just
to say his name.
You
He's
saw
like
me
your favorite
have.
dude.
You saw me have a brain fart right now. I was just like that. But it didn't sound anything different than what we've already heard before. And I don't think he's retiring yet. I think he announced that he was unretiring and doing more stuff. So I feel like he has a couple more years left under his belt, so he may just get nominated and win for something else. I think Oppenheimer, the soundtrack for that, is very haunting, and it just works well with Nolan's directing style. And I know he's worked with was it Ludwig in Tenet, and I think they are a nice couple now. Before it was Hans Zimmer, right? He worked with Hans Zimmer in the past.
Yeah.
So this could be the new duo moving forward, and I like what I'm hearing. So, and besides, Zimmer is busy with Villeneuve for Dune, so and I think that soundtrack is also equally as fantastic. But I'm gonna go Oppenheimer in this one.
I can't believe you said Indiana Jones sounded like the same old thing because he added one flute for a few seconds in one of the songs. So like it's totally no. If you told me they had just sampled old Indiana Jones stuff,
who would have known?
And then. Yeah, it's it's actually some random DJ, some kid in a basement with.
That's right. A YouTuber.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw in a couple more wrinkles here.
Okay.
Personally, I would go with Poor Things. That's one of the more interesting scores. Sure. It's not going to win, I don't think, just based on the scuttlebutt. Killers of the Flower Moon gets a morbid bump from Robbie Robertson's passing last year.
Right.
If Robbie Robertson was more of a heralded film person, which he was in. He was, the subject of The Last Waltz, directed by Scorsese. He's done movies for a while. That said, I don't know if there's enough love for him. If in that same way, we've seen it recently, where it's not a shoe in the way it was for Heath Ledger when he passed. We've seen it a couple times since then that the person who had passed actually doesn't win the award.
Right.
Yet Killers, it was so good, the score, and it is in the number 2 choice for a lot of bettors and experts. But I'm going with the smarter money on this one. My instinct says I should split with you and hope that puts me over the edge when you defeat me in the other categories. But I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going to go with Oppenheimer here.
Oppenheimer.
I also,
all right.
Between us, I think there's something. Ludwig, I don't know how many more years he can do this, where he's just been crushing it. He's been nominated so many times, and hasn't been around that long.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be in a John Williams situation where in 30 years it'll be like, oh my gosh, this guy has dozens of nominations. My instinct is that you can only win so many times before people start to
get tired of you.
But maybe score's different since you're not, front and center in the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe and he's doing different styles. So I'll go and say Oppenheimer, not overthink it. I wouldn't be shocked if a couple other options pull out here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think at least with Ludwig, he has been able to kind of reinvent his sound based off of project. Well, you have John Williams that has similar kind of tones in some of the stuff that he does. I feel like just like how you could tell filmmaking and editing styles, when you hear scores, you're like, oh, that has to be John Williams. Oh, that's Hans Zimmer, because there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
That's Danny Elfman. Like you can kind of like pinpoint those things. With Ludwig, you're not sure sometimes. You're like, wait a minute. Because I think a lot of people are familiar with Ludwig's score for The Mandalorian. And I think when people hear that, are like, oh, that's Ludwig. But then when they hear Oppenheimer's score, they're like, wait, that's Ludwig too? It sounds very different.
Also doesn't hurt having the same first name as fucking Beethoven. So
you just hate him for that.
The name
like that freaking
alone.
jerk.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. People to see Ludwig and they're like, oh, putting that one down for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's what prestige.
Yeah.
All right. Sticking with music here, we have original song, The Fire Inside, I'm Just Ken, It Never Went Away, Wajaji, and What Was I Made For? So for me, I'm going to go with What Was I Made For? Big win for Billie Eilish at the Grammys on this one. I think for me, that solidified this choice here once that happened. So what about you?
Yeah, the fact that it'll be Billie Eilish's second Oscar win is hilarious. And I love that. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yet I'm still going Billy. It's what all the betting markets, experts, and everyone are predicting. I actually, when I originally was looking through it, I put down American Symphony since that got snubbed in documentary, and John Baptiste is so famous and has been such a I think you become a Hollywood insider when you've worked at a place like it was Colbert. And you meet all those people and you're glad. It's like he's been able to campaign with people in Hollywood for a long time. And yet, if everyone's saying What Was I Made For? And then I remembered the other day, it was stuck in my head so bad, I had to literally put it on repeat.
Oh, boy.
And just to try to get it out of there. I was like, that song's that's going to hold. It was in the charts. It is on its own a very enjoyable song that you could almost see someone just putting on a playlist or putting on for enjoyment. Whereas a lot of original songs, it's like I loved I'm Just Ken in the movie, but the amount of times I've been like, oh, you know what? I have one friend who put it on a workout mix. I was like, okay, that's kind of clever.
That actually tracks. That tracks because
but you're not
I could see that.
Driving around with your windows down, listening to I'm Just Ken, and then just getting mocked by everyone who passes you.
Unless you're like in a van and you're the parent of like a young 14-year-old girl and she's there with her friends, then I could see like all of them probably belting this thing out, right?
But if you're in a van and an adult alone, it's one of the creepiest things you could possibly do.
1,000%. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's where you're going with it. I was like, no, that's not a cool thing to do.
That's not what I'm going with. Yeah. All right. Next category is production design. So we got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. What say you on this one?
I'm not going with a smart choice. I know this is technically wrong. Based on what I read, I'm going with Poor Things. My bias
Okay.
is coming through. There was some good stories about it. I was so amazed by it. Just like costuming, it's one of those things when I talked to someone after they saw it, production design was one of the first things that came up. Even if someone disliked the movie and thought it was too weird, part of its effect would be from something like production design.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe experts are underestimating Poor Things overall, and it could win some of these more niche categories. And again, I'll say this isn't the smart choice, and there's a very high chance that Poor Things ends up with 0 wins. But I'm putting it anyway.
All right.
I'm
well,
having fun going with my gut this year.
that makes 2 of us because I'm also doing Poor Things in this category. Because
Damn you.
I think, like what we said before, those are like the major highlights of this movie. Yes, acting was phenomenal, directing was phenomenal, cinematography was phenomenal, soundtrack was freaking damn cool. Production design, production design, production design. And I think it also helped that I heard Yorgos and the crew talk about it at New York Film Festival, how they spent so
Here
much
we go.
time designing things. Oh, come on.
Congratulations.
I can't help it. I was
I got a
there.
press pass. Thanks, Renee.
But, you know, they
Oh.
worked really hard on
You
this.
very subtly threw that in the conversation. That was actually really impressive how
Thanks.
subtle it was that
Thanks.
time.
Thank you. Thank
Normally
you.
you wear your New York Film Festival t-shirt and
Yeah, I have the
and
hat.
show off your tattoo.
That's right. I'm still wearing the badge in every episode
Yeah,
that we're
just
recording.
walking around.
Yeah.
Like, wait, when is that from? Next year you have 2 of them. Just
That's right.
dangling.
Yeah. I'm just every year I'm going to keep adding and adding and adding. I'm going to be like that dork at the convention.
Yeah, with a person like a Mets game with like the 100
Yes,
pins,
all the pins.
jersey with their name on it. Yeah.
From
Oh, here
all
comes
the
Renee NYFF.
like, oh, here he is, the damn mascot. All right. Moving on. Short film animated. Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and War is Over, inspired by the music of John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And that's where I'm going with War is Over. And I think you might be doing the same.
I still have my John and
Love
Yoko
it.
War is Over record. I
Love
have a
it.
pin over there that says it. This is a tough one to predict. All of the shorts always are.
Yeah.
I saw some places not putting this as number 1, and then if you were to filter it out on Gold Derby to just the experts, it becomes number 1 if I have that right. And I'm going with the name recognition factor as well.
Mhm.
That helps a lot. There's
Yeah.
also a short film nominated, I want to say 06, some years ago, but I am the Walrus.
Oh, yes. Yeah. With the
I Met the
Beatles
Walrus, yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, it's an audio from an interview with John Lennon it was 07, in a hotel room that this dude randomly got, and then turned the audio into an animated movie.
Which is smart. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But either way, my instinct is to say name recognition really helps in this category. We've seen it before, and that's why I'm going with that. Yeah,
So that's War is Over for you.
yeah, I'm putting that down. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm double checking, and I Met the Walrus did not win. It was just nominated. Nonetheless, I'm putting this one down.
All right.
It's also one of the only ones I have not seen yet. It's one of the more difficult. You have to go to the little screen. It's one of the one of the ones that wasn't available online early on.
Yeah.
So maybe that helps too. That I'm like, oh, it could be so amazing.
And then when you see it, wait a minute, why did I choose that?
Here, yeah.
Like, what the hell? All right. Sticking to short film, this time we have short film live action. The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I'm going with my love of Wes Anderson, and I'm choosing The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. The only full feature film director nominated in this category for this year. I'm still surprised we didn't get Pedro Almodovar in here. That would have been a great race to see, but instead we got this, and I'm going with Wes Anderson.
Same. It's the smartest. Everyone's putting this down. if it's snubbed, it would be one of the more exciting ones, and it's because it's a short, it's not that predictable.
No.
But the name recognition, the availability of it on Netflix, fact that dude got snubbed elsewhere, and would be the makeup. There's so many narratives where it makes sense here. There's almost it is all the shorts said it before, say it again. It is one of the hardest things to predict because like documentary earlier, there aren't a ton of places and precursors for these things, and even when there are, they can be all over the place. That said, with the info we have to go on, Henry Sugar's definitely, and even like intuition, popularity, name recognition, all that. There's so many reasons to think it's that. That's the simple math.
Sounds good. All right. Now let's go to sound. In this category, we have the creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which now they have changed. They removed the Part 1 from the title now. So it's just Dead Reckoning. Oppenheimer, and then The Zone of Interest. So I don't know if you had the same conflict that I had. It was between Oppenheimer and Zone of Interest. I think both movies do really well as far as utilizing sound to help narrate portions of the story. Zone of Interest does it a little bit more artistic, I think, all throughout. But Oppenheimer, you have that one moment where the big event happens and all you hear is breathing and
they both
silence.
Use silence and negative sound very cleverly.
Yeah, amazingly well done. So I think for this, I'm going to go with Oppenheimer in this case.
Are you even entertaining Maestro? Because I know that I saw that some places as a fate. That's its other best chance of winning.
I have briefly. Again, one of the things I said about the movie when I saw it is that you have to see it in the theater, because when you hear the performances, it really puts you in that moment. I keep saying that moment in the cathedral when it brought tears to my eyes and how beautiful it sounded. But when I think of sound, I just don't think of just that. I also think of normal scenes and other moments in the film. And maybe I'm wrong, but for me, I feel like Oppenheimer stood out the most out of everything. And I'm also thinking in the Academy's point of view, which direction they may be going. So
yeah. My favorite sound, for me, the best sound from last year would have been Ryan Gosling yelling "Sublime" in Barbie, or maybe the bubble popping sound that made me laugh every time in Poor Things. Oh yeah, there's a few other. If you were to just do best sound, I think that would be really interesting, and that's
like only singular sound.
Just a sound, any sound.
yeah, any sound
in a movie. I think it makes sense because it's the Oscars. But if you were to do any sound, oh man, there's a lot of great sounds out there.
I mean, how about the sound of Barry Keoghan licking the bathtub water? I mean,
that's so good. That's a perfect nominee.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Now Saltbird's not snubbed.
Yeah, there you go. So where did you go with this one then?
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Oppenheimer. All right.
Yeah. Seems a lot of smart money to go in Oppenheimer. So much so I think it'd be interesting if turns out it was some fool's gold in the predictions.
Yeah.
I think director and picture feels pretty sewn up, but I think there's the thing where sometimes people will extrapolate and say, oh, if it's winning that, it's more likely to win these.
Yeah.
It could be interesting if people are okay, we're going to make up for those, it being such a favorite, or people say, yeah, it was the best movie, but you know what I really liked, and they're spending more time. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens and Oppenheimer doesn't actually win all of these. But right now, looking at it, smart money, and it's a quality choice, there's not really much reason for me to overthink it and choose anything but Oppenheimer.
Cool. All right. Visual effects is our next category here. We have The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and Napoleon. I would have easily have gone with The Creator in this category because of if anything was to be said about that movie, it would be the visual effects on how well it was done, how seamless it looked. Like it didn't look
seamless.
It didn't, it felt real at a lot of times. So real. And yet I went with Godzilla -1.
It's not going to fucking win. Yeah. Godzilla, of course.
Yeah. Because again, the amount of what they were able to accomplish with so little money, I think that is like the running narrative about this film. I think they had what, under $11 million budget, and yet they were able
Have
to
you
put
looked into why it was so cheap?
no.
So, somebody said, and I think that the other campaign should have smeared them more for this.
Okay.
But and I'm this is hearsay.
Okay.
So I don't know that it's true, but I've heard multiple people be like, "Oh yeah, it's because they don't pay their workers. They aren't required to. Like they're in Hollywood studios. One of the big reasons is you get overtime.
Yeah.
There's union rights. There's like, oh, we have to have this many people. You can only work, and because there's so much work that has to be done, it's actually a problem where we don't have enough resources in visual effects. So then Marvel sucks up all this talent or something like that, and the other movies, and so then there's so much demand. Okay, we'll pay you even more, and yet, my understanding, I haven't heard otherwise, is that Godzilla minus one part of the reason is the workers are not being taken care of.
Well, I mean, knowing what I know from Japanese companies, there is no such thing as overtime in Japan, like when it comes to companies and how they treat their employees. So I would probably understand and agree if that was true. I'm not 100% sure, but there's also a lot of controversy with a lot of visual effects houses and how they're treated in the US as well. I think we heard a lot of blowback on how Marvel treated their effects companies and people that they worked with. But I think regardless of that, even though if people didn't get paid, if they were to win this is their payment, right? In a way, I guess, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things of if someone's mistreated and you don't want to reward that mistreatment, but you do want to reward them. It's difficult to take it away on that. If you look at it that way, that makes sense. Yeah. And also, I think it's worth mentioning, Creator was $80 million budget, and that's impressive. I've listened to interviews where they talk about how tough that was to pull off and how they had to like really look at their resources for it. Yeah, I'm also, just a preliminary search, is that there are actually labor laws in place that keep the wages low. Yeah. That's how it's not even like, oh, we have a lot of labor laws here that, and not even as much as Europe, but that will protect the like, oh, you have to pay people this much. They're like, no, you're not allowed to pay them. Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. So anyway, all that said, that's part of the reason it seems, and yet that math is an interesting story, the way you were talking about it. Mm-hmm. And it was also well done regardless. It was fucking impressive. I think it could win even without that narrative. Sure. But you throw that in there and they go, holy shit.
So you're going with Godzilla also?
And it's what all the experts are saying. Yeah, I'm going with that for sure. Nice.
And plus, I think it would be just fantastic for an international feature film to beat out all of these American productions in a category like this. And I think it would put a spotlight on budget moving forward and how that could be like a big thing. Because that is a big takeaway from the creator on how they only had $80 million. And hearing Gareth Edwards talk about what he had to do to save money and how they were using basically store-bought cameras to film a lot of the moments that they were filming. I mean, that is just, they went to like a Best Buy or something and they just bought some regular consumer retail cameras to do a lot of filming. I mean, I think that's fantastic when you hear about that. So if anything, that bodes well for him in the future, if he's going to be doing Jurassic Park, from what I hear. So that's going to be fascinating to see. All right. Last two categories are your favorite categories. So I'm going to have you lead these two. So first off, we're going to go with writing adapted screenplay. American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
The writing ones are always pretty interesting, and it's rare to have a clear favorite. This year particularly, it's tough. Yeah. I'm going with the one that is about writing, which we've seen that before. American Fiction. I think it was a very loved festival movie that is not getting much attention elsewhere, even though it's got plenty of nominations throughout and more than you might expect that kind of indie darling to get. But I think that personally, I also wanted to go back for one second. Original score, I've heard multiple people, including experts and film critics, talk about for score for American Fiction. They were like, yeah, I didn't even remember it. Why would that win? Why was it even nominated? I was in the theater fucking jamming to that jazz
Hell yeah.
score. I literally Shazammed a couple of songs during it and was like, wait, this isn't a jazz song that they found. This is the score.
Yeah.
That shit bopped. But with that said, we don't think it's going to win score. We don't think it's going to win acting, etc. So I think that helps it. It's about writing. It was a very clever movie. It's got that indie darling kind of vibe to it. It's got a lot of love, and the other ones are so different from it that I'm going to go ahead and say that that'll be the standout and win the award.
All right. Well,
Not very confident.
You and I are on the same boat.
Fuck you.
Because I'm also going American
Once you've got
Fiction.
like two that you feel good about, you're like, I'm just going to tie him up. The rest of it's like running out the clock in a basketball game. Go fuck yourself.
No, I mean, the thing is, again, from what I've been reading, from what I've been seeing, American Fiction has been getting a lot of attention in these type of categories, and it's well deserved. I love the story Jeffrey Wright said during his speech for, I think it was the Spirit Awards, where he said every studio they went to didn't want to do this movie. But then to have it finally come out and see how well of a movie it was done because of the writing, the characters, the story, the way it panned out at the end, it's just phenomenal. And I agree with you too. The score was great. It's kind of like an homage to, because he's, Thelonious. I mean, one of the great jazz musicians around. So it's like a nice homage to that.
Wait,
everything.
Everyone calls him Monk. Is it because his name's Thelonious though?
Yeah.
And so then he gets Thelonious, like Monk.
Thelonious
We'll call you
Monk.
Monk. So Monk's the nickname because his name is Thelonious.
Correct.
I think I had it backwards. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So it all gelled really well together, but the writing was very, very solid. And I do think this has a good shot, if anything, this is the category they're going to win. And I think they deserve it. So I agree with you there.
It's the one where an indie darling is more likely to get some love in that category. And they go, oh, that was an interesting one. And we're not going to give it anything else. But that's often an outlier category where, okay, that's where we'll show you that love. And especially with a new director. And it was based on a story from a writer. I'm going to call him a journalist. He was also like a blogger, but I don't know enough about the backstory, but I've heard plenty of people who are film writers talk about like, damn, he was a peer of ours and now dude's nominated and he's got this big movie out, etc. But regardless, I think there's plenty of reasons why, but that feels like a safe choice.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like every journalist's dream, to eventually write like a nice, well-received script or a book, right? So
a lot of people, like, oh, I have a dream. One day I'll write my screenplay. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right, last category. Here we go. Writing original screenplay. We have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May, December, and Past Lives. Where are you going with this one?
Can I abstain?
That is a very long sigh.
Where I don't lose points.
A very long sigh.
Or like if I don't put it in, is it like how does that?
No, you can abstain.
It was a tough one for me.
I thought
about it a lot. Okay, I put Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of a Fall. All right.
Yeah, I saw enough. I just saw enough things that it convinced me that way. This is also similar to the other things we're talking about. So far, I don't have Anatomy anywhere else.
Right.
And so for that, I think Holdovers is a smart choice. I saw one place that had Maestro, and I was like,
really?
Huh. I was shocked by that. And now I don't think that means too much, but there's one place where they will be like, oh yeah, we got that one right. Past Lives is what I put initially for like on when I was going off intuition. And yet looking into it, reading up on it, what other people are saying, feeling, thinking, I want it to be Past Lives. And I think my intuition is actually would be just to go with my initial gut feeling and what I think should be the winner. And also that indie darling thing. This is one of those places like, oh, we snubbed you everywhere else. Let's go. I think I should put that, but I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Anatomy of a Fall just based on the research I did.
Okay. All right. I
What are you looking up
also
right now? What are you Googling?
no, I'm looking up this name of the person I'm going to be talking about here.
Okay. Cool.
I also wanted to put Past Lives in there because I wanted Past Lives to win something because of how good of a movie that was last year. However, something in me said that I think it might go this way. And I hate to bring up the certain festival I attended where this person was present after the screening for said film. And she walked on stage to thunderous applause from the audience, even more so than the director.
Thunderous.
And that's Sammy Birch for May December. I think she is very well beloved in the industry. I think people were excited for her screenplay and writing for this film. Plus, she also walked away with the award from the Spirit Awards, from the more recent Spirit Awards. So, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I'm going with May December in this category.
If you don't mind, I'm going to call you crazy. I don't know if
go for it. That's perfectly fine.
Do that. That is the dumbest. I'm not even kidding you. That is the dumbest. I was going to change mine actually. If you said Anatomy of a Fall, I'd be like, gotcha. You copied me again. I'm going Past Lives or Holdovers, which is a really smart money also. Right now, Renee.
Yeah.
If you genuinely think that's what's going to win, you must bet your fucking life savings on this thing or any amount of money, because that pays out. If you put $100 down, you get $3,300. You get 33 times your money. Sorry, I said 33,000, 3,300. Regardless, this is so good how bad this choice is. I loved it. This is the most Renee thing. And watch you be right, it'd be hilarious. But the fact you're going like, oh, I went to the film festival and this person was there. Yes, I love this. This is going to be the moment that I just dance a little bit, because it literally, Anatomy of a Fall, you have to spend $200 to get $100. Holdovers, if you bet $100, you only get $150.
Mm-hmm.
May December is $3,300. It is the bottom choice by far.
Okay.
So good. I'm so glad you picked that. You're locked in. That's awesome.
That's it.
I would like
I'm
to put
locked
money
in
on it. If you're interested, I would do that happily. I would take the field if you're taking May December to bet anything else. I will bet against May December. I will short it. Let's fucking go. But sincerely, if you feel that way, put any amount of money and you'll become rich, even $1, and you'll be like, whoa, how'd I get this much money?
I guess I need, yeah.
We come in, he just owns a fucking real studio. He buys out the Kaufman Studios in Astoria.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious. Yeah. You'll be seeing Movie Time now live, coming to you live from the Museum of Moving Image.
We bought a Broadway theater and will now be recording here. Yeah. Genius, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, again, there were a lot of categories where you went with your own passion, your own heart, and all that stuff. And yes.
Yeah, but I didn't choose the bottom choice even then.
I didn't even look at it that way.
It was that rock bottom. Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
I didn't look at it that way. I basically
that's beautiful.
I just went off of vibe, and every time Sammy would walk into the room, the vibe was just so strong. I don't know why.
Sammy? First name?
Yeah, that's right. My girl Sammy.
You.
Good old Sammy.
Okay. This is why I'm so mean to you right now and why I'm gloating that you by your defeat before it even happens, is that you just use the first name of someone because you're the same film.
No, but again, I do feel like she is highly regarded in her circle, and again, these categories are voted by the peers in these categories, right? So I could be wrong.
Not these categories. Everyone gets to vote for these.
No, I get it, but there is divisions within the Academy that that's why these things get nominated.
Yeah,
so
it's probably why it got nominated and will not win.
We'll see. We'll see. Again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong in a smaller category like this than one of the bigger ones. So
now I'm going to lose by 1 instead of 2, which was my prior prediction. If I was predicting our prediction outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But there it is. Those are our Oscar ballots. Those are our predictions, what we're going with, what our guts are. Now, knowing Blake, he's going to have 2 or 3 other sheets that will cover his wanna wins, his other should wins,
who I would vote for.
Yeah.
Who will win. All
of that good stuff. So if you want to hear more about that, you're just going to have to tune in to our Oscar coverage on Oscar Day. And details of that will be coming up shortly because we are literally a week and a day away from the big show. So I'm excited. Blake, I'm sure you're excited. How do you feel? You feel good?
No. I never feel good. I feel fine. I'm excited about the Oscars. It also feels like an easier night where it's not like, I don't feel like I have as much on the line as like the Everything Everywhere year, which was exciting and was one of the happiest Oscar nights.
Yeah.
And yet I was more nervous throughout it because I was like, this could go, this one I'm like, yeah, Oppenheimer will probably win a bunch of them. And I loved it, but it's not. If Poor Things was in that everywhere space, then maybe I would feel, but I'm not invested in that same way. I don't feel like there's a high chance I'll have my heart crushed. If Oppenheimer lost all the categories, I'd be like, oh, wow, that's very interesting. And that would be about it. So I'm not as invested this year as I have been in some of the recent years. This feels kind of more like, is it Nomadland or Power of the Dog year to me? I will say, if anyone's planning on watching along at home and wants to do a drinking game, every time Renee mentions New York Film Festival, do not take a shot or you will die. You will absolutely get alcohol poisoning because this dude sneaks it into every possible moment he can. Unless you're into that and you got a really high tolerance, then maybe we could put that on there.
Look, I always say drinking should never be a game. Just drink. F it. Just go. Just do what you got to do. But yeah, if you want to play a game, go ahead, do that. And maybe you could don't take a shot whenever I mention it, but then you should take a shot every time Blake backtracks on a certain decision and choice he made. It's like, I knew I should have done this.
Right?
I knew.
Oh, damn.
Because you will hear that.
Like, oh wait, they won original screenplay. Now this is going to win Best Actor. Right. They're not even the same movie, just unrelated.
Exactly.
Oh, the median age of the average voter went up by 2.3 years. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a fun night as always, and I can't wait to check it out. And hopefully you'll be there. And if you're not, then the following episode after the show, we will do a little recap of everything, how the night turned out. If there were any surprises, snubs, and all that, we'll talk everything about those things. So make sure you stay tuned there. But with that said, I think we're done for this week. So before we head on out, Blake, any final words? Where can people find you online as well?
Find me on Letterboxd. Find me right here with Renee on YouTube, or find me on Letterboxd with the screen name, last name Wolf.
There you go. Any final thoughts for the folks?
Don't look at my Dune 2 review unless you've seen it already. I'll say that.
Did you heavily spoil it on Letterboxd?
I actually didn't. It was okay. It's not a spoiler, I promise. I was just trying to be clever. I wrote Avatar 2: The Way of Sand because the plots are so similar.
Nice. Okay. I like it.
They're literally writing. They're teaching them how to write a creature. It's a totally different element world.
Right.
Dude's doing a little savior of another population thing. Avatar: The Way of Sand. That's all I put.
I get it.
So feel free to like that if you want to see if now I'm just trying to go clever and see if I can get one of those that people are like, oh my gosh, I saw this comment.
And then it goes viral, and then now it's on Twix and all that stuff.
Yeah, Letterboxd comment viral, which is the lowest form of viral in any community. Yeah.
Hey, viral is viral. Doesn't matter from what form of media, what platform or whatever. I haven't written mine out yet, so maybe I should put the better Star Wars. I don't know. Maybe I might go that route. Who knows? But
Villeneuve Strikes Back.
Villeneuve, yes, it is very Empire Strikes Back. They did a very good job of that. We'll make sure that we talk about Dune in a future episode. Once we're all said and done with the Oscars, then we could freely talk about movies again. And there's some catching up for us to do. And we'll make sure to do an episode where we catch up, or an episode or two where we catch up about the stuff that we've watched. But if you want to see our most up-to-date thoughts and feelings on movies, Letterboxd is always a great way to go. You know where to find Blake. You know where to find me. Just look LOWKEY GEEK, or the LOWKEY GEEK, sorry, there. Instagram, Twix, most importantly, YouTube. Check out the channel. You could find clips of this episode or other episodes and other videos, reviews. I do a live stream now, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where I just sip my coffee and talk about recent headlines. I also give my reviews and thoughts on movies and streaming shows on there. So if you're around and you want to hang out with me while you drink your coffee, check me out there on YouTube's, or just check us out here every week, or we try to be every week, with the MovieTime podcast. So make sure rate, comment, anything that you could do, spread the word, follow. We love you all. Any last parting thoughts there, Blake?
Can we do a bet on the Oscars, and if you lose, you have to dress up like Austin Butler in Dune 2, just full
on black,
shave the eyebrows. No, it's white. What do you mean? I don't mean his costume. I mean the face. I want to see full white paint, shaved eyebrows. God. Yeah, you got to do that. I would really like to see it.
We'll talk. Maybe we can make that a possibility. Maybe I'll just show up. Maybe I'll just show up when we watch the Oscars. I'll show up.
You're not invited in my home if you look like that. Sorry.
And I'm just like,
you're standing outside. Like, is there anything you want me to pass along? Because they can't hear you. You're locked out.
I'll make my teeth all black too, and I'll just start, talking in this gruff kind of Southern accent.
The Skarsgård impersonation.
Yes, exactly.
We got to talk about Dune 2 more, man. All right.
Yeah. We'll definitely spend an episode to talk about it, and again, you'll get to hear it in a future episode. So we're gonna head on out. Until next time, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Blake's laptop battery is dying, so we gotta go. Catch you all next time. Bye.